Hello, everyone. This is Dennis Easter with Algorithm on behalf of acu-connect to bring you our belated video of the Acumatica 2023 R1 new feature tips and tricks. This was originally scheduled for earlier this year, but due to some technical difficulties, we weren't able to get it done then. This is brought to you by our friends at Repay, and we'll have a minute from them in just a little bit. So what are we going to look at today? So what we'll take a look at is the new InfoTips and how Acumatica is continuing to look and upgrade the user experience. We'll take a look at delegation. So people are out of the office, work can continue. And then a couple improvements in the sales order module. And finally, something near and dear to my heart is in the manufacturing improvements. And so without further delay, a word from our sponsor, Repay. So Repay is integrated with Acumatica, and they continue to expand their third-party integration. On the screen, you'll see several solutions that they currently integrate with, allowing you to offer that omni-channel flexibility. So what does it mean to be omni-channel? It means you're ready to grow with you, and they seamlessly integrate with a wide variety of e-commerce and online solutions. So now your customers can pay you anywhere, anytime. And speaking of anywhere, anytime, that's just one of the benefits that integrated payments offer. The Repay difference is really boiled down, in addition to they're the only provider to offer integrated solutions for both accounts receivable and accounts payable. There's really four main points, and that's the time savings, cost reduction, the risk mitigation, they support efficiency, and they provide that seamless integration. Combine those 4 points as the pillar of why their technology and their team members are so beneficial, and you'll understand the value of Repay to the customers. So how do you get started? It all starts with a discovery call to our good friend, Nicole Benitez. You can see her email address there. She is not a salesperson. She is actually a payments consultant, and she's staying on top of the new payment trends, integrations, and features all the time. So she'd like to find out more about your business, share her knowledge with you, and let you see how their omni-channel integrated payments can improve your business and your cash flow. So schedule a discovery call with Nicole and take that next step with integrated payments from Repay. And now, back to the show. So the first thing that I want to talk to you about is the InfoTips. And if you remember the old InfoTips, then when you went to launch them, you got this clumsy little black box that showed up. It didn't always have the full text on it, and it kind of blocked data fields, didn't close efficiently. And so Acumatica has changed that to where now when you hover over the field label, you'll notice that you've got a little question mark. And when that question mark is clicked, it opens up a side panel. We'll see more about side panels later. That gives you that info tip. But contextually, what it also does is if you click the little caret there, it actually opens up the help screen so that you can get to the different reference pages for the info tips there as well. And so this is just another case, another example of where Acumatica is continuing to improve that user experience by giving you the simple launch of the info tip by hovering over the item and clicking on the question mark, and then expanding the help file directly from the info tip. So that is a great tip that Acumatica has added to help increase that usability. Now, the second thing that we're going to look at is the delegation of your approval and workflow inside of Acumatica. So if you're leaving town and you need to have someone continue your work, there are a few things that you need to get set up to do that. So let's take a look first at the sales quote approval flow. So this is an approval map that you need to have set up. And so this particular approval map for the sales quotes is assigned particularly to Jason Mendenhall, okay, if it's over $10,000. And you'll notice that it does require that you allow reassignment of approvals on the approval map. And so you can't just do this with any approval map. It gives you that control so that employees are fulfilling their requirements. Now, once you have that approval map set up, on the employees tab, on the employees profile, and also the user can set it by going to the user profile in the upper right here, there's an added tab for delegates. And you can see here that for delegation of approvals, Rick Domenico is chosen, but there's no delegation been approved for expense receipts and claims. So you've got some flexibility there. So now we'll notice then, okay, we'll set the scene. A $10,000 sales quote needs to be approved by Jason Mendenhall, but because he's allowed, he is delegating his approval to Rick Domenico. And so we'll look on the sales quote here, and we'll see that we have one for $7,500, and there are no approvals set to it. And so if we go ahead and we're going to change the quantity on the sales quote to 25, so now it's over $10,000. And when we request approval, if we look on the approvals tab, we'll see that it is set to be assigned to Rick Domenico because of the delegation features. Now, another thing that Acumatica has also done is that they have provided a grid to reassign delegated activities so that when the person starts delegation, if they are have active tasks open, they can be delegated, or when they return and they have delegation set on, they can have them assigned back to their current account. So delegation of workflow and approvals is the way that Acumatica is helping you to continue doing business and continue a proper workflow and process while people are out of the office. So the next thing, and we're moving right along, is changes in sales orders. Okay. And so in a sales order, they've created a new sales order type called MO. And if you'll watch what I do here, so this is used for corrections. So if we have, in fact, shipped an incorrect item, so we incorrectly shipped the Con Baby 1, here the changing table, in place of the napper, and that happens to be Con Baby 3, you'll notice that if I'm putting a negative sign in my quantity, that the operation changes from issue to receipt. And so this is a great way where if something is misshipped, the customer lets you know, and you need to correct your inventory, correct the information. So they're going to keep that Con Baby one, and then you'll do another sales order for this napper station. Then you can go ahead and correct your inventory by receiving in the Con Baby 3 that was originally on the sales order but not shipped, and then issue out the item that was. So great way then for you to be able to correct your inventory. Now you'll notice that this goes right to prepare invoice. Okay. So because it's for correction only, it's really applicable to counter sales. And there's no shipment required. It's simply an invoice for the net, or if the difference is, in this case, negative, then it'll go ahead and create a credit memo as well. And so Acumatica has added that functionality to where maybe it's on a return authorization and an RMA type of order, or on this MO order type. You can now use negative quantities on the sales order lines, and it will change and update the inventory operation to be completed. So here we just took a look at sales orders, the enhancements of being able to use a signed quantity in order to determine the action, the inventory action that's taken. So the next thing that we want to look at, and at Algorithm, where we work with a lot of manufacturers. And so let's take a look at some of the changes to the manufacturing production order screens. And so we'll go ahead and open up this item 204 for our scalpel. And one of the first things that you may notice is that we have side panels galore inside of manufacturing now. And so here you have your production order details so that you can get an up-to-date status of where the product is. So this in production, milling hasn't started on it yet. We're still working on getting that set up. And then you also have your critical materials view. So instead of having to launch a separate screen and then go back to the production order, you can take a look at your critical materials directly from a side panel. Okay. So there are a couple other things here. One of them is this production order analysis. So you'll notice it's got a filter on it so that these are graphs particularly for the production order in context. So looking forward to hearing how our customers are using the new side panels inside of production order management, and how being able to get to the data faster is helping them do their jobs more efficiently. Another thing that they've done inside of the user interface for production orders is, if you'll remember, production orders had a little hold checkbox, and so you have to check the box in order to put a production order on hold. And now they've added that to the workflow so that it can show up on the toolbar, and it's also available from your actions menu. So they're taking away the checkbox, making it consistent with the rest of the application, where they've started putting the next phase or possible next step on the work order on the screen. Okay. Another thing that they've done is they've actually added creating labor transactions to the menu. So if you'll remember, previously you actually had to go out to the production orders menu and create a labor transaction instead of being able to do it from the context of the production order. So those are a couple things that they've changed inside the user interface in order to make it more accessible and more consistent with the rest of the program. Now, another thing that I want to show you, I'm including it in the 23R1 release. It was actually released in 22R2, but it wasn't part of the initial release. It was added to the product later on, so it wasn't available when 22R2 first came out. And that is the ability to create multiple clock ins and clock entries for a production worker. And so if you look at this, here's where I have created an example for Yoda Jones so that she is clocked into multiple work orders, 36 and 56, operation 10 in the work center, and it's gathering time for her. And then the math, for those of you that are really interested in getting down to the details, is it will take the amount of time that there are concurrent jobs going on. So here, one job was logged in 3 hours and 20 minutes ago, and one was 3 hours and 21 minutes ago. So for those 3 hours and 20 minutes, as soon as we go ahead and select this one and clock out, then it's going to take 3 hours and 21 minutes, and it's going to divide it by 2 because she was logged into 2 jobs at that time. And so if she would have been working on 3 jobs or 4 jobs, it would divide it equally amongst the time on those particular work orders. So this is a great feature for the people that run CNC machines and run multiple machines. They set them up, they start running. It's going to be a long running job, so they go and move to another machine and set that up. And so this is a way for you to now capture working on multiple jobs in those type of work centers. So CNC machines, plasma tables, any of those jobs that are running concurrently, concurrent operations and concurrent production orders at the same time, you can now capture their time in Acumatica using the multiple production clock entry feature. So, folks, I apologize that this was late. Glad I could finally get it to you. We took a look at some of the newer things that were released in R1. I really like the InfoTips. It's going to make it much easier for people to get contextual help. And then the clocking into multiple jobs at the same time was a highly requested feature on the ideas page, the product ideas that Acumatica has in the community. Take a look at that page and really understand that Acumatica looks at that and they're adding features from that page based on user input. So get involved in the community. We appreciate you joining us at acu-connect for our 23R1 tips and tricks. And now don't forget a couple things coming up. September 11th through the 14th, we have the Acu-connect annual event. So go out to acu-connect.com and register for that. And then later in September, 23R2 is going to officially be released. And so we're finishing up with 23R1, looking forward to 23R2. And so, folks, thanks for your time. Appreciate you joining me, and take care.